On Thursday in Melbourne, we'll see the first men's semi-final, as well as both women's semi-finals. We were 1 point away from the huge US Open rematch the tennis world was anticipating, until Karolina Pliskova's stunning comeback over Serena Williams. Instead, Pliskova and Naomi Osaka will battle it out to make their second major final. In the other women's semi-final, one of the most inspiring semi-finalists in recent memory takes on one of the most shocking. And 3 of the 4 remaining women are fighting to become the new world number 1. In the men's semi-final to be played on Thursday, it's the second year in a row where the ATP Next Gen Finals champion will face an all-time great in their first major semi-final. Naomi Osaka, 4 versus Karolina Pliskova, 7. Embed from Getty Images. Pliskova holds a 2-1 edge over Osaka in their head-to-head. Karolina prevailed at the 2017 Rogers Cup in a match where Osaka retired early in the third set. Osaka won last March at Indian Wells, on the way to her big breakthrough title on the WTA Tour. And in September of last year, Pliskova won in straight sets. Osaka handily took out Alina Svitolina in her quarterfinal, and should be totally fresh today. Just yesterday, Pliskova played an over 2-hour, dramatic match with Serena Williams. Karolina was all but eliminated from the tournament, down 5-1 in the third set. That is until Serena was called for a foot fault on match point, then hurt her foot as the point played out, and lost the next 6 games. It was one of the most shocking turn of events ever seen in a major quarterfinal. It's also one of the biggest wins in Pliskova's career, and the second time she's upset Serena at a major. But you have to expect that emotional match will be hard to come back from just 1 day later. Osaka is the better all-around player, with much better defensive skills, and more speed around the court. Pliskova though has been serving extremely well, and is undefeated this season, just like her Czech countrywoman in the other semi-final. Could we have an all-Czech final on Saturday? Perhaps, but I would give the slight edge to Osaka to advance to her second straight major final. Petra Kvitova, 8 versus Danielle Collins. Embed from Getty Images. Kvitova is into her first major semi-final since Wimbledon 2014, and her first since the home intrusion that left her with nerve damage in her left hand. Last year, she led the WTA with 5 titles, yet struggled at the majors with a 4-4 record. But Kvitova has downed her opposition quite comfortably at this major, and is yet to drop a set. It was heartwarming to see Petra brought to tears with happiness after her quarterfinal when asked by Jim Courier if she thought she'd ever be back in a slam semifinal. She'll face the unlikeliest of opponents, a 25-year-old American who had never won a match at a major prior to this tournament. In that way, her run at this tournament is reminiscent of Marco Cecchinato's semifinal run from Roland Garros last year. Collins has ruffled some feathers with her cocky demeanor and in-your-face attitude, but she's backed it up with some ferocious ground strokes. She hit Angelique Kerber right off the court in less than an hour, and then came back from a set down to dominate Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in a one-sided, 6-1 third set. These two actually just played a few weeks ago in Brisbane, their only career meeting. Kvitova prevailed in an extremely tight 3-setter that lasted 3 full hours. It's hard to imagine the unseeded and unproven Collins getting to the final, but it's entirely possible if she gets hot again. And Kvitova is usually good for at least one poor performance at every major, and she hasn't had one yet. Also, the weather could play an important factor today. Temperatures are forecasted to get extremely toasty, and we've seen previously how Kvitova's level can be impacted by the heat. All things considered, I would still expect the much more experienced Kvitova to find a way to defeat the relative unknown in a major semifinal on Rod Laver Arena. Rafael Nadal, 2 versus Stefanos Tsitsipas, 14. Embed from Getty Images. Is Tsitsipas capable of taking down another GOAT contender at this tournament? Nadal is the man who put a stop to both of Stefanos' other 2 breakout runs this past year. In the Barcelona final in April, Nadal lost just 3 games. And at the Rogers Cup in Toronto last August, Tsitsipas had defeated 4 top 10 players before Nadal beat him in straight sets in the final. And judging by Rafa's form over the past 10 days, he'll likely end Tsitsipas' tournament here as well. Nadal has won 15 sets and lost none, which is exactly what the doctor ordered for a man who has withdrawn or retired from the vast majority of hard-court tournaments he's entered in the past 15 months. Rafa is into his 30th career major semifinal, and holds a phenomenal 24-5 record at this stage. He is however 0-2 in his last 2 Slam semifinals, with losses to Djokovic at Wimbledon and Del Potro at the US Open. But the following statistics applied by ATP Media Info on Twitter is in Rafa's favor. Against players 21 and under, he is 9-0 at the Australian Open, and 34-3 at all Grand Slam events. More good news for Nadal? He has only spent about 10 hours on court thus far, while Tsitsipas has spent about 50% more. Stefanos has shown his game is just as much substance as flash at this tournament, not only in his upset of Roger Federer, but also following up that career highlight by defeating Roberto Bautista Agut in the quarterfinals. While just about all the statistics support a Nadal victory, I'm interested to see how much resistance Tsitsipas can provide. The multiple Grand Slam champion spoke to Yuba Tennis earlier this week at the Australian Open. A group of young American players are ready to dominate the highest level of the women's tour, according to former world number 1 Lindsay Davenport. At this year's Australian Open, 5 women from America progressed to the 4th round of the tournament. A milestone that was last achieved at the tournament back in 2003. With the exception of Serena Williams, all of those players are aged under 25. The current top 112 American women feature the youngest being 17-year-old Amanda Anisimova at 87th and the oldest being 38-year-old Venus Williams at 36th. I am not surprised. It's been a long time coming. We had so much success in the 80s and 90s, and then a little bit of a lull, Davenport told Yuba Tennis about the rise of her teenage compatriots. List of American women in the top 101 player that had made a name for herself in Melbourne is Danielle Collins. A 2-time NCAA champion that had never won a Grand Slam main draw match prior to this year. Collins, who is playing in just her 3rd season as a professional, stunned 3 seeds en route to a semifinal meeting with Petra Kvitova on Thursday. Her victims included Julia Gorges, Caroline Garcia and 2-time Grand Slam champion Angelique Kerber. She's had a tough draw. She earned her way here. She works so hard, so it is all about her success, Davenport said in praise of Collins. Sometimes with this generation, they want to play and they don't, but this means the world to her. Davenport retired from tennis in 2010 after accumulating $22,166,338 in career prize money. The 13th highest sum of all time on the WTA Tour, as of the 14th of January 2019. She is a 3-time Grand Slam champion in both singles and doubles, winning a total of 93 WTA titles, with 55 of those occurring in singles competition. Looking ahead to the future, Davenport is confident that the rising stars from her home country can make a big impact on the WTA Tour, believing that Collins' run to the Australian Open semifinals could trigger a snowball effect among her Fed Cup teammates. We have a great group of players from about 15 to 23 coming up, and once a few of them start doing well, like Danielle Collins, I think there is going to be a lot of success coming, she concluded. In the Open era, 86 Grand Slam titles have been won by an American woman. The second highest by a country is Germany with 25. The full interview can be listened to below. Note, interview conducted by Ubaldo Scanagot. Novak Djokovic is into the semifinals of the Australian Open after Kenny Shikori retired at 6-1, 4-1 down to the Serb. Novak Djokovic, photo by Priceline Kayo, copyright at Sport Vision. In Novak Djokovic's bid for a 7th Australian Open continues after he reached the semi-finals with Kei Nishikori retiring 6-1, 4-1 down. The world number 1 will now play Lucas Pouille on Friday evening for a place in the final. The Japanese star showed effects from his epic week in Melbourne where he was forced to a 5th set in 3 of his 4 matches leading up to his quarterfinal. It was a run which included winning 2 last-set super tie-breaks against Ivo Kolovic and Pablo Carreño Busta, but he had no energy left to take on Djokovic. After the match, Nishikori revealed it was a right leg injury. Before the match, I was okay. Of course, I wasn't, like, fresh. I thought I was going to be okay, the former US Open finalist explained. After 3rd game or 4th game when I was serving, I felt pretty heavy to my right leg. After that I couldn't really bend my knees and couldn't jump up. Yeah, I decided to stop. As for the world number 1, he still played some good tennis, only dropping 2 of the 12 games played as he heads into the semi-finals with a lot of energy in the reserves. This was important for the 6-time champion considering his previous 2 matches were 4-set matches against Denis Shapovalov and Daniil Medvedev. After the match, Djokovic said, "It feels good to be back in the Final Four after many injuries, feels great. This has been my most successful Grand Slam throughout my career, the first one that I won back in 2008, Djokovic explained. Yeah, past 2 years have been a bit tough with the elbow injury and everything. Over the past 10 years, I've had plenty of success here. Obviously that has helped to kickstart the season in a great fashion, obviously served as a great confidence boost for what was coming up after that." The Serb will look to reach his 7th Australian Open final on Friday evening when he takes on Lucas Pouille after the Frenchman stunned Milos Raonic in 4 sets. A showdown between Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal in the final is everybody's dream final, and for now that match is still on the cards. The Spaniard will play Stefanos Tsitsipas in the other semi-final on Thursday evening. When will the recent Grand Slam curse end for the former world number 1? What if it wasn't a foot fault? What if she hadn't jarred her ankle? What if she converted one of her 4 match points? Once again, Serena Williams' Grand Slam campaign has been a case of so near, but so far. Taking on Karolina Pliskova in the Rod Laver Arena, 37-year-old Williams was on the verge of booking a place in the Australian Open semifinals. Leading 5-1 in the decider, a sequence of dramatic events combined with some stern resistance from across the court denied her. On her first match point, the American appeared to have fired an ace to seal victory, but it was deemed a foot fault by the linesman. In the next point, she jarred her ankle in what the start of her undoing, enabling Pliskova, who is still unbeaten in 2019, to roar her way back to clinch the match in dramatic fashion with the help of a 6-game winning streak. I think honestly she didn't start playing until she was down match point. I think she really gave it her all at that point. I don't think giving up was an option for her," Williams said in tribute to Pliskova. "At that point I'm just trying to think, okay, win some points, win this game. Then I had a couple more match points on her serve. Naturally I thought, alright, here we go, you're going to win one of these. That clearly didn't happen, but I was just trying at that point." Since her comeback from giving birth to her first child, Grand Slam tennis has been nothing but heartbreaking for the American. The French Open, she reached the 4th round before withdrawing due to a pectoral injury. At Wimbledon she eased into the final before imploding against a dominant Angelique Kerber. Flushing Meadows saw her engage in a heated confrontation with umpire Carlos Ramos, which ended up in her being docked an entire game in the final and later fined $17,000 for unsportsmanlike conduct. Now in Melbourne she squandered a 5-1 lead in the decider against Pliskova. It is almost as if a spell has been cast upon Williams by Margaret Court, who currently holds the record for most Grand Slam singles titles at 24. Williams is currently on 23. Nevertheless, the always resilient Williams refuses to be down, already stating her desire to equal court's record at the next major. Right now would be Roland Garros because that's the next one, the next Grand Slam for me. I mean, 22 was close, 23 wasn't close, but 22 was close for a long time. 18 was close forever. Yeah, we'll see, she commented about her Grand Slam tally. More play, more success? Embed from Getty Images. Since returning to the WTA Tour in March, Williams has stuck to a limited schedule. In fact, she has only played in 4 tournaments, excluding Hopman Cup, outside of the majors, all of which has been in America. Some would argue that somebody of her caliber and maturity doesn't need a dominant team-like schedule. On the other hand, is the lack of match play hindering her performance? My team, haven't really discussed our tournament schedule, to be honest. Maybe that's something we should discuss, Williams replied when asked about expanding her schedule. We're kind of just going with the flow, what we've played throughout the years, not really changing too much of that. Once the most dominant figure in women's tennis by a considerable margin, Williams believes it will take time for her to hit full throttle, although she has already shown glimpses of her true talent in recent days. Illustrated by her first-set annihilation of world number 1 Simona Halep during their 4th-round meeting in Melbourne. So far in her career, Williams has won 72 WTA trophies and spent 319 weeks as world number 1. I know there's a lot of things that I need to do, a lot of things I need to do to get better, a lot of maybe more just matches. I don't know, she analyzed. I just feel like as close as I want to say that I'm there, I know that there's a lot more that I need to do to kind of get there. 10 months, soon to be 11 months, soon it will be 12 months. It just takes time. The time is there, but the question is how much longer does she have left? Williams is currently the 4th oldest player to have a WTA ranking. This doesn't mean that the end of her career is near, but not even the greats of the sport can go on playing forever. This may be why chasing after major title number 24 might be one of the most challenging obstacles in Williams' illustrious and record-breaking career.